Good morning and welcome to UL Daily News Broadcast. I am Ethan Peterson.
And I'm Matthew Bakken.
Today our primary focus will be on the incidents that took place yesterday at the Munich Olympic Games.
Yesterday morning around 5 a.m. local time, a total of 8 Palestinians attacked the Israeli athletes' living quarters. 2 Israelis were killed during the attack, and 9 more were taken hostage. Later that morning, the attackers identified themselves as a Palestinian terrorist organization called Black September. Upon negotiations with the Munich police chief, Dr. Manfred Schreiber, the president of the International Olympic Committee, Avery Brundage, among others, the group called for the release of over 200 Palestinian prisoners being held in Israel and a safe passage out of Germany.
It is understood that an agreement was made to first fly the terrorists and hostages by helicopter to a military base before boarding a flight to Tunisia. Sometime during the transfer from the helicopters to the airplane, shots were fired. This is believed to have occurred around 10:30 p.m. The exchange left all Israeli athletes and 5 Palestinians dead, while 3 other Palestinians were wounded and arrested. The German police fired the first shots, according to multiple reports.
We have arranged to have experts from the Israeli perspective, supporters of the Palestine movement, and the Olympic Committee to provide the most well-rounded broadcast possible. Despite this, emotions are running very high, both within the Olympic community and around the globe. We also have reports from Olympic athletes and civilians in the area to get a sense of the atmosphere on the ground at the Olympics. It should be noted that the games are set to continue, which is another point of controversy. Now we take it to our field reporters in Munich.
Thank you very much, Ethan. Effectively, the situation is really dramatic here in Munich. Everybody is shocked about what happened. 11 Israelis, in which 6 coaches and 5 athletes have been killed. And yesterday night, the drama happened at the airport. Terrorists would have flight to Vicar, but it didn't happen, and all the hostages and 4 of the 8 terrorists have been killed.
I just spoke with a high jumper from Argentina about the tragic incident that occurred within the Olympic Village yesterday. He informed us that his own team was located no farther than 40 meters away from the Israeli team's room. He vaguely remembered seeing the men sneaking into the village disguised as athletes. The men were seen carrying large sports bags, most likely used to carry the weapons they used to carry out the attack. I was also told that he captured footage from a camera he purchased before leaving for the Olympics. This footage showed police and army personnel attempting to rescue the athletes. He was able to escape the village by being escorted through a second exit in the village. This incident was described as shocking, and he is praying for everyone affected.
I just spoke with Mark Spitz, an American swimmer, on the telephone. He discussed what it was like being in the Olympic Village and being transported out of the country for his own safety. He said that he was not close enough to the Israeli team to hear the commotion. When he was in an interview to talk about his 7 gold medals, an Olympic record, the news reporters asked him if he had heard what was going on, but he had not. The interview is where he got most of his information about the 2 Israeli team members being killed in the village and the hostage situation. Following that interview, American officials told Mark he would be flown home immediately because they were concerned their star athlete, who happened to be Jewish, was at risk of being attacked as well. He was swarmed by armed guards and boarded a flight to leave last night. When I spoke with him today, he couldn't believe that this had actually happened, and he was still in shock.
The president of the committee, Avery Brundage, said, and I quote, "Peace has been broken by some terrorist criminals. Every civilized person in this world condemns this barbaric crime. In gratitude and respect for the victims and sympathy for hostages who are still detained, the sportive events are cancelled."
Everyone is appalled by this criminal raid on the peaceful Olympic site. With our Israeli friends, we are mourning the victims of this attack. We are currently living in sorrow for the Olympic Games are now victim to economic, political, and criminal pressure. We will not allow the terrorists to destroy this core of international cooperation and goodwill in which the Olympic Games represent. The Games will continue, and we will try in our best efforts to keep them pure, praiseworthy, and to carry the sportsmanlike conduct of the athletes into the other spheres. We are in mourning, but we will continue with the events as planned.
As we can see, by the picture above. The UN resettled Jewish people displaced by Second World War. The people slowly took over the region of Palestine. We can see when the British took over parts of Ireland, we see a correlation that people are uprising. When we see the case of Palestine, in my belief as an expert, is the case of the hostage crisis in Munich as a result of the treatment done by Israeli people, and believe that the group responsible for this is the Democratic Front for the Liberation of Palestine. The media support the struggle of Israel due to the fact that they feel sorry as a result of World War II. As a result of the persecutions done by the Nazi Party. The irony is that these people are causing harm to other sections of the community while themselves know the heartbreak of suffering. We can see the territory taken by the Israelis by just 1 year. This is a nightmare for the people in Palestine. Some people believe that this is just aggravated violence by a minority group. In retrospect, would you live in a country where your rights are violated on a day-to-day basis? Would you stand for it?
Prior to the 19th century, numerous religious groups lived throughout Palestine. 86% of the population was Muslim, 10% Christian, and 4% Jewish. However, towards the end of the century, extremist Jews called Zionists attempted to take over the land. Because of Adolf Hitler's rise to power, more Jews from Europe immigrated to Palestine, and the Jewish population began to take over. There are multiple wars between Palestine and Israel for the land. The group Black September is responsible for the act of terrorism today. This year, they have already assassinated the Prime Minister of Jordan and hijacked a passenger jet bound for Israel. Many Palestinians consider the Munich Massacre an act of heroism. The German government offered the Palestinians an unlimited amount of money for the release of the Israel athletes. But the terrorists requested that 234 Palestinian prisoners be released from Israel. Prime Minister Golda Meir refused to release them. Since the German police fired first, it seems that the Palestinians' goal was not to kill the Israeli athletes, but to gain attention for the Israeli conflict. 3 of the terrorists are being held in a Munich prison awaiting trial, and the bodies of the other 5 are to be returned to Libya. There is talk that the Palestinian government will give the men's heroes' funeral and bury them with military honors.
Israel is in a state of shock following the hostage situation that has taken place in Munich. It has stunned the people who are following news of the attack through continuous radio announcements. There has been a strong reaction of outrage over the continued oppression and violence towards Jewish people, especially considering that the Olympics are meant to be a place for people of the world to come together. This event has already led for some to call for attacks on other Arab capitals where the terrorism is harbored and supported. The Israeli government is in emergency meetings to discuss how to respond, with their primary focus being on suspending the games until the hostages are released. The fact that the games have yet to be suspended has caused anger on the Israeli side, as they feel that the continuation of the games marginalizes the situation taking place. In addition to demanding the suspension of the games, Prime Minister Golda Meir has called on the other nations to condemn the events that have taken place. Thus far, King Hussein of Jordan is the only Arab leader to publicly do so.
After announcing to cancel the Olympic Games, the chairman of the Olympic International Committee, Avery, will organize a ceremony this afternoon in the Olympic Stadium of Munich in order to pay tribute for the victims and showing respect for the families. Back to the studio.
Hello again, we thank you for joining us on this sad day. The unfortunate events of yesterday's Munich Olympic Games were undoubtedly felt around the world. When discussing events such as this that could have great implications on a global scale, it is vital to get a fair sense of opinion from a variety of viewpoints. The death count still stands at 9 Israeli athletes and 5 Palestinians. Our reports from the field gave us a sense of the atmosphere at the games right now. The expert opinions given on today's broadcast gave us insight on the differing perspectives from different parts of the world.
There's never an easy answer to solving the problems behind terrorist attacks such as this one. It is crucial that during these heartbreaking times, we stand together globally in efforts to solve the underlying issues and to hopefully prevent yesterday's events from reoccurring. Thank you once again for joining us today. We hope to have more developing stories and news on the attack and the continuing Olympic Games.